Tonight, the death penalty. That's what the government is asking for the admitted mastermind of 9/11 and his 5 alleged co-conspirators. And why there's growing concern Al-Qaeda's next attack on America could be carried out by Americans.
They need to have people who look like us, act like us.
I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, striking writers could be back to work this week. But which TV shows will be back and when? Stay tuned. And March of the Penguins interrupted. Why climate change is putting them in jeopardy.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. For anyone who might have forgotten, not all the men responsible for the 9/11 attacks died aboard those 4 planes. Today, the U.S. government announced charges against the terrorists who dreamed up the murderous plot and 5 alleged accomplices, and said it will seek the death penalty. All are being held on the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Here's our national security correspondent, David Martin.
9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 5 others were charged today with murder and a host of other crimes for the attacks which killed nearly 3,000 people. All 6 will be tried together by a military tribunal of 12 officers, which the Pentagon vows will not be a secret trial.
Every piece of evidence, every stitch of evidence, every whiff of evidence that goes to the finder of fact, to the jury, to the military tribunal, will be reviewed by the accused.
They are accused of 169 criminal acts. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed devised the plan and trained the hijackers. Walid bin Attash ran one of the training camps. Ramzi bin al-Shibh helped the hijackers find flight schools. Abdul Aziz Ali wired them $127,000. Mustafa al-Hazawi reclaimed unspent money. Mohammed al-Qahtani was supposed to be the 20th hijacker, but was denied entry to the U.S. New York Deputy Fire Chief Jim Riches, whose firefighter son Jimmy died in the World Trade Center, says it's about time.
I think it's great. I mean, 6 years. It's been 6 years, since the death of my son and all the other 9/11 families. We deserve justice.
The trial could start as early as this spring at Guantanamo Bay, but like all the other cases there, it likely will be delayed by legal challenges. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed has admitted, I was responsible for the 9/11 operation from A to Z. But he was subjected to waterboarding, and using his own words against him could be challenged by the defense.
The more that military prosecutors can avoid the tangle of the interrogation tactics and the waterboarding and the confession and torture and so forth, the better chance they're going to have.
If convicted, the 6 could appeal all the way to the Supreme Court. Execution would probably be by lethal injection. But that, too, has been challenged as unconstitutional and is now under review by the Supreme Court. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Terror experts are working around the clock to head off any new attempt to attack America, and they're concerned that in the not-so-distant future, terrorists could easily blend in with the U.S. population. Bob Orr now on Al-Qaeda's latest tactics.
U.S. officials are increasingly worried that the next attack on America could be carried out by Americans trained in terror inside Al-Qaeda's safe haven in Pakistan. These arrests last month in Barcelona underline the fear. More than a dozen trained suicide bombers, many of them European citizens just back from Pakistan, were taken down as they prepared to launch attacks against transit systems in Spain and 4 neighboring countries.
They've realized that if they want to operate successfully, they need to have people who look like us, act like us, and are very difficult to find.
Is Al-Qaeda actively looking for American recruits, Western recruits?
Whether it's Americans or whether it's people who can launch from Europe because they have visas or passports that allow them to travel to the United States, they're looking for people who can operate in the West.
In an exclusive interview with CBS News, Philip Mudd, a top counterterrorism official at the FBI, said intelligence has tracked Western recruits to small training sites in Pakistan's rugged tribal region. Many of the recruits are European citizens of Pakistani descent, raised in London, Berlin, and Madrid, but drawn to the radical Islamic movement. And there have been a few Americans, among them convicted terrorist Jose Padilla, who grew up in Chicago, and Adam Gadon from California, now a leading voice in Al-Qaeda's propaganda. Unlike the large military-style camps Al-Qaeda used in Afghanistan before 9/11, the new training is being done in small groups, specifically tailored to Western recruits, plotting strikes against Europe and the U.S.
There's a different kind of person who's going to come to Western Europe, and they don't necessarily need paramilitary training. You might be simply talking about how do you build a small device to put on a backpack so you can take it on a train.
The transit bombers who hit London in 2005 were trained in Pakistan. So too were al-Qaeda recruits arrested a year later in a plot to blow up passenger jets over the Atlantic. But officials warn the U.S. remains al-Qaeda's top target.
The purpose of the recruitment is to train people in weapons of mass destruction and then get them back into the United States.
Understanding al-Qaeda's new tactics offers a first line of defense. But the real security challenge at the airport or the border may be finding the terrorists if they look like us. Bob Orr, CBS News, Washington.
Al-Qaeda is also suspected in a pair of car bombings today in Baghdad. The targets were Sunni tribal leaders, but instead 22 civilians were killed. Also in Baghdad, Defense Secretary Robert Gates said for the first time he wants to put off further U.S. troop withdrawals after the initial wave comes home this summer. 30,000 are due to be pulled out of Iraq by July, which would bring American troop levels back down to the pre-surge level of 130,000. Meanwhile, the dangers of reporting from Iraq has once again hit home for this network. Two of our colleagues are missing in the southern city of Basra. We're doing everything possible to find them, and we, of course, are in contact with their families. But for their safety, we're not revealing their identities at this time. Now to the presidential campaign and the next showdown between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. The primaries tomorrow in Washington, D.C., Virginia, and Maryland. Here's how close the race is right now. Our latest CBS News count shows Obama has a 7-delegate lead over Clinton. Dean Reynolds is in Washington, and he's covering the Democratic race. And Dean, Barack Obama's really on a roll right now.
That's right, Katie. His victories over the weekend gave him a priceless supply of momentum at a critical time. Obama was loose and enjoying himself today in front of another huge crowd, looking every bit the man who swept all the contests this past weekend.
I've still got game. I do. I may be skinny, but I'm tough too.
Tomorrow, he's anticipating more encouragement from Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia, where he expects to ride a cushion of African-American support.
Between JFK and Martin Luther King, I hear both of them and feel them both in this one man right here.
His nearly 5-to-1 margin among blacks has forced Hillary Clinton to fight for a voting bloc once felt to be securely hers. The Scott family of suburban Washington is divided. Husband George is for Obama.
He just brings everybody together.
Wife Stanita is for Clinton and is disappointed with her neighbors.
No one is saying, well, Hillary has been there for us, Bill has been there for us.
Bill brought a lot to the whole community, but his time has come and his time has gone.
I don't know what the answer is. She's in trouble.
The Clinton campaign's inability to adjust to the more competitive race was one reason that led to the Sunday shakeup of its top managers. Out is Patty Solis Doyle, who's been running things for a year, and in is Maggie Williams, a seasoned political operative who worked for Clinton at the White House.
We've got to get more help. We just don't have enough help.
But in the next breath, the candidate set the bar pretty high for her new manager, verging close to a risky prediction about the upcoming Texas and Ohio primaries on March 4th.
And I think in Texas and Ohio, I will do very, very well, and I intend to run very competitive winning campaigns there.
And there's a new nationwide poll out today, the first since Super Tuesday, and it shows that in a general election head-to-head matchup, Obama defeats Republican John McCain by 6 points. A similar matchup between Hillary Clinton and McCain is a virtual tie. Katie?
All right, Dean Reynolds. Dean, thank you. Turning now to Hollywood, where they may finally be able to add 2 little words to the writer's strike. The end. Screenwriters will vote today and tomorrow whether to end their 3-month-long walkout. They could be back at work as early as Wednesday, but even if they come back, it doesn't mean your favorite shows will be back, at least not anytime soon. Here's Ben Tracy.
What do we want? After a 3-month-long commercial interruption, television is about to return to its regularly scheduled programs.
You did a good job.
At weekend meetings, writers gave the tentative agreement between their union and the studios pretty good reviews.
It may not mean a lot
in the next 3 years of this deal in actual dollars, but in terms of the future, it's incredible.
The contract addresses most of the thorniest issues, such as how much writers get paid when their shows are downloaded to computers and phones, and a big win, union pay for material written for the internet. The writers gave up their demand to unionize reality and animation shows. So when will TV get back to normal?
I'd say about 80% of shows that were in production before the strike will go back into production immediately.
Something smells good. First back in a few weeks could be half-hour comedies, such as 2.5 Men and The Office. They're easiest to produce and shoot. 1-hour dramas are more complicated. ABC saved fresh episodes of Lost, already airing, but dramas like CSI, Grey's Anatomy, and House probably won't have new episodes until mid-April or May.
Show me.
Shows with special effects and odd schedules like Heroes and 24 won't be back until the fall. But say goodbye for good to shows like these with low ratings, apparently not worth the cost of producing. The question now is the shows may come back, but will the audience come back too?
People are confused. They think everything's in repeats now. They think the seasons are over. I think you will see when shows come back, there'll be a slowness.
One show that's definitely on the schedule in a couple of weeks is the Oscars. After months of head-to-head combat, it's going to be a room full of anxious writers and studio heads trying to make nice. Katie?
A lot of pressure there. Meanwhile, Ben, what does this mean for the big fall season when networks traditionally roll out their new shows?
Well, first of all, this current TV season could be a little longer than normal, possibly going into early June. But come fall, when we're used to that big premiere season you mentioned, probably not as big as normal. That's because the networks are not ordering as many pilots as they have in the past. Now, the upside of that for us TV watchers is that they'll be relying more on the shows we already watch, so that may mean fewer reruns.
All right, Ben Tracy in Hollywood. Ben, thank you. There is much more CBS News ahead, including penguins in peril. Their world is melting away. What does that mean for us? But up next, a health alert and an alarming increase in high blood pressure in women. Fewer Americans are dying from heart attacks and strokes, but experts now fear that trend will not last, especially after news today that one of the major risk factors for these killers, high blood pressure, is on the increase among women. Dr. John LaPook has tonight's Eye on Your Health.
American women got a wake-up call today. Their blood pressure is rising.
Blood pressure is worse for women than men in every state. And in the past decade, blood pressure for women has been actually getting worse.
High blood pressure, or hypertension, has increased in both men and women, but women are worse at controlling it. A large study by the American Heart Association found from the late 1980s to the early 2000s, uncontrolled hypertension dropped slightly in men, but actually increased in women, from 17.4% to 21.7%. That means almost a quarter of all women in this country have blood pressure that is out of control.
We were astonished. Blood pressure is something that we know really well how to control.
One way to control it is through diet. But another study out today shows only 20% of the 73 million adults with high blood pressure follow the recommended diet. All this has experts worried.
If we're seeing an increase in blood pressure over time, we can expect to see more heart attacks, heart failure, and stroke.
One possible reason women are doing worse than men, obesity. It causes high blood pressure, affects more women than men, and definitely has been on the rise.
And John, in order to control high blood pressure, you have to know you have it, and that's a real problem, right?
Big problem. A third of the people with high blood pressure don't know that they have it, and one of the reasons is it generally has no symptoms. So when you go to the doctor, you should find out your blood pressure number, just the same way that we know our cholesterol number. It's generally easy to treat, diet, exercise, medication, but first, you got to know it.
All right. John LaPook. John, thank you very much. In Washington, the only survivor of the Holocaust to serve in Congress, Tom Lantos, has died after a battle with cancer. Born in Hungary, he escaped twice from a Nazi labor camp and came to this country in 1947. Elected to Congress in 1980, the California Democrat founded the Congressional Human Rights Caucus and was a powerful advocate for human rights around the world. Tom Lantos was 80. And a Hollywood icon from the 1970s has also died, actor Roy Scheider. He was 75 and was best remembered as the police chief in Jaws, uttering a line that has gone down in movie history.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
Roy Scheider earned Oscar nominations for his roles as a detective in The French Connection and as the womanizing choreographer based on Bob Fosse in All That Jazz. Some complicated construction work 210 miles above the Earth today. 2 astronauts working outside the space station and 2 more on the inside attached the European Space Lab Columbus to its new home at the station. It was a long time coming. The $2 billion lab was originally supposed to be added way back in 1992. Now to the CBS News Money Watch. And when is $44.6 billion not enough money? When you're trying to buy Yahoo. Yahoo today turned down that offer from Microsoft as not good enough. Microsoft said it will keep trying to make a deal. And are you looking for a safer investment than the stock market these days? Well, how about postage stamps? The post office announced today the cost of first-class postage is going up a penny in May to 42 cents. So if you buy one of those forever stamps now for 41 cents, it'll be worth 42 in May. Return on your investment? 2.4% tax-free. Moving to the weather now, the upper Midwest is caught in a serious deep freeze. Temperatures struggled to get above 0 today in the Dakotas and Minnesota. In Chicago, the Windy City, the wind chill factor made it feel like 15 below this morning. And to make matters even worse, they're expecting up to a half foot of snow by tomorrow. When we come back, a place where the deep freeze is beginning to thaw. A journey to the bottom of the earth uncovers troubling news about their future and ours. One of the world's last frontiers may hold the first clues to our future. Temperatures are rising dramatically in some parts of Antarctica, and what's happening there may have profound implications for us. To understand it better, we return to a part of Antarctica we first visited back in 1999. John Blackstone traveled more than 10,000 miles from California to New Zealand and then to Cape Royds in western Antarctica. There he caught up with a colony of penguins for our special series, Journey to the Bottom of the Earth.
At 28 degrees, this blue stretch of Antarctic Ocean is so cold, only the salt keeps it from freezing. That's just the way Adelie penguins like it. But this march of the penguins is becoming increasingly perilous. Biologist David Ainley has been studying Antarctic penguins for 12 years. He took us to Cape Royds, a spectacular place few people ever see, to show us an unexpected impact of global warming. So far, climate change has been good for the penguins of Cape Royds. Clearing ice has left plenty of open ocean for feeding, but the air is still frigid, averaging just 15 degrees in summer.
In the short term, Cape Royds is the place to be if you're a penguin.
This year, 5,000 Adelie penguins converged at Royds to breed and raise their young.
Penguins are the favorites of a lot of people. You know, they look like little people.
CBS News first visited Ainley here in 1999. Penguins need some sea ice, but back then there was too much, forcing them to walk miles to get to the ocean. The chubby chicks we photographed then are among the parents at Cape Royds today. As cute and curious as they are, these penguins are also pretty tough. Here I am in my extreme cold weather gear, but for the penguins, this is a perfect Antarctic summer day. Just the right amount of sea ice and open water. But in Antarctica, there are fewer and fewer places that are just right for penguins. While the population is thriving at Cape Royds, on the Antarctic Peninsula, colonies are collapsing. There, temperatures have risen 5 times faster than in the rest of the world. Ainley's assistant, Jean Pennycook.
They must have ice to live. So like many songbirds require trees, if you cut down the trees, the songbirds won't be there anymore. If the ice goes away, the penguins will no longer be able to survive. When we see species like penguins having to make these changes, it's an indication that we may have to make these changes.
Increasingly severe climate changes in Antarctica are having devastating effects at some of the colonies Ainley and Pennycook study.
One of our colonies at Cape Bird is at the base of a very large glacier.
She photographed that glacier as it rapidly melted, flooding the colony and leaving penguins struggling to keep their eggs above water.
It was very sad.
Then an unusual summer snowstorm buried the chicks. There's more snow and more ice, and that doesn't that doesn't indicate global warming anyway.
It's not so much about global warming, but about climate change. Sometimes warming is the trend, but when there's more warmth, that means there's more evaporation, and that brings more storms.
For now, the complex interactions of a changing climate seem to favor this one small colony at Cape Royds. But this really is the end of the Earth, as far south as penguins can go in search of the cold climate essential to their survival. John Blackstone, CBS News, Antarctica.
Tomorrow, a closer look at what's in that ice as well as under it as our journey to the bottom of the Earth continues. And that is the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.